Today we're looking at a NEC monitor. Specifically, this one is the NEC multi-sync. The model is JC-1401P3A. It's a very unique computer monitor from 1986, which can scan 15 kilohertz all the way up to 36 kilohertz, I think, but it at least covers VGA at 31 kilohertz. And so it was compatible with a lot of different computers at the time, including 22 kilohertz computers. And these monitors are pretty rare to come across, especially in working condition. But today we're going to be opening this one up and checking the capacitors because it's got some weird geometry issues with the pin cushion and everything, and the size of the picture is a little small. As well as I just want to do a general inspection of condition because the late 80s is a suspicious time for capacitors, to say the least. We could find a lot of leaky caps in here, so let's take a look. So we're gonna look around the monitor a little bit here. This is with the rear case off, as well as the stand removed. Yeah, you can see it's shielded on all four sides. There's the model, the chassis number, the build date. There's a little control panel on the top. There's the anode cap. Alright, so here's some shots that I took during disassembly. Unfortunately, I didn't record my disassembly process. This is the video amp board. Does all the video signal processing. That's the top of the power board. That's a shot of the deflection board. This thing was a total maze inside. Like, all the cables were tied and everything and neatly, but there were a lot of cables to keep track of. My God, it took me like 3 hours to reassemble this thing. Like probably 3 or 4 times longer to reassemble than it did to disassemble. There's the tube sticker, made in Japan, NEC. There's a sticker that says the yoke is permanently fixed to the tube. And here is the little adjustment panel on top, which I did spray with deoxit to free up those potentiometers. Alright, I finished recapping the entire power board except for this giant one, which is probably still fine. Every cap on this power board was the same KMC brand, this black and gold brand, and every single one of them was leaking. So I just replaced them all, even the 35 volt and unders. And this one got a little janky because it's a very strange value. It's 100 UF, but it's at 100 volts, which is extremely high for 100 microfarad capacitance. And the one I ordered from, this is the smallest diameter one they had, close to but above the voltage for 100 microfarad. The closest I could find was 160 volt, and this was the smallest diameter on Mauser, and this is how big it is. So I literally had to Frankenstein on some smaller legs because the legs on this were too thick to even fit through the holes, and it's too big to fit in this area. I mean, diameter wise I could probably get it in there better, but because of the legs I actually can't get it any closer to the board without breaking off my solder legs that I added to it. So I'm hoping that this doesn't interfere with the little shield that's going to go over this, and hopefully it all fits and everything. We'll see. Okay, I got this thing back together, and man, let me tell you, that was the most complicated and tedious reassembly I've ever had to do on probably anything. It took me a couple hours to get it back together, probably 3 times longer to put it back together than it did to take it apart. And I haven't even finished putting it back together. I didn't put the case screws in or put the stand back on because I just wanted to turn it on, make sure it still works, and then check the adjustments because it may need some adjustments with these capacitors back in tolerance, and the H width may need an adjustment. So I just figured I should probably test it first. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Still power's on, so that's good. I didn't screw anything up with the power block. So yeah, let me get something connected and we'll test it with an input. Okay, well I got it connected to an old IBM ThinkPad that I've been working on restoring, and it's working fine. The controls on the top I sprayed with some deoxit because they were totally sensitive and not working right, and that seems to be working fine now. But I'm still getting fold over on the left. Depending on the H position I do adjusting on. But I seem to have more freedom than I did before, so that seems to be an improvement. Let's try, I know this thing can do 800 by 600 too, let's try that. Interesting. Back to having fold over again. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. Let's hook up a game console so I can get this thing calibrated and see what's up with it. Tested at 15 kilohertz and 31 kilohertz 40p. Alright, so I've got this thing back together, and it's definitely better than it was before. Whoops, that's behold. It's definitely better than what it was before, but it's still not perfect. And honestly, looking at the schematics and how the adjustments work, I don't know that it actually is able to be perfect for all three major frequencies this thing supports, which is 15 kilohertz, 22 kilohertz, which is I think either EGA or CGA, and then VGA. I did make several corrections to the centering and different position potentiometers and whatnot, and I also centered the rear raster, which is, you can actually see if I turn the brightness up, you see that gray box in the background, that's the the background raster, and that was off center before, which is why I was getting so much horizontal rollover when I would center the image on the screen. The back raster was off and to the right, and so whenever I would try to center the foreground raster, which is the actual picture, it can only move within the confines of the background raster. And since the background raster ended about here, when I would try to center anything, it would just cut off and come out mirrored back out from the edge, because that's just how the CRT works. That's called fold over. And so I did fix that. I increased the vertical and horizontal size so that I could get a full screen raster in VGA, or at least close to a full screen raster without ruining the 15 kilohertz mode. And so overall I'm a lot happier with it now, and I think it works a lot better. So let me go ahead and get the camera on a tripod, and we'll do a little bit of gameplay here, and then I will show some computer input. This is from my Dreamcast down there, but yeah, let's play some Dreamcast, and then I might show you some Xbox too, and then we'll do a computer. wonder if this background music is going to get me claimed. It's not like I have ads on my videos anyway, so I guess I really don't care, but... I don't see any good customers. This one's shit, it's not even taking me in the right direction. Get farther into the map. Alright, there's a yellow. Ah, this is still orange. Oh, shit. That's a major problem. Try and pick up that green customer that was back. Oh, there's yellow. That'll do. Alright. I don't even know if I have enough time to get to the church. Yeah, I'm gonna make it. Just barely. I'm running on bottom time here. This isn't good. Jesus Christ. This is one of my worst. This is why I don't play skill-based games at 3 a.m. is because my reflexes are out the window. You suck. Yeah, normally I can at least get Class B. That's kind of embarrassing. Alright. Okay, let's flip on the Xbox. The Xbox is kind of interesting because the boot sequence is actually in 240p or 480i actually, sorry. It's in 15 kilohertz is what I meant to say. And then once the yeah, there we go. Once the dashboard loads, it kicks into 480p. can't control my... There we go, the controller wasn't in all the way. Let's see, on here we can do probably either Forza or maybe Outrun 2006 would be a fun one. Yeah, sometimes it's actually impossible to not get fold over. That's why I haven't quite figured this monitor out, like how I'm supposed to properly avoid that shit. Let's see how I'm gonna sound. 1 second. There we go. Let me see, I don't know what else I want to play on here, but let's take a quick look. let's go ahead and switch over to the computer. Oh, Jesus. Wow, what refresh rate is this at? Jesus Christ. Okay, there we go. This game basically defined my childhood. I spent, I don't even know how many days worth of my life playing this game and then buying it on various other like systems that it was released for and then playing it on that. Love this game. I even went so far as to spend a few months programming a clone of it in, I think, Unity. And I got pretty far with it, but I kind of got stuck at the point where I needed to create assets for the game, like, you know, the 3D models for the rides and everything, and really got stuck because that's not my area of expertise or interest at all. So that never went anywhere. But yeah, I built like an isometric engine, set up the tile system. You could landscape the tiles like this, and everything was, all the sprites were mapped correctly for all this, and it had a money system. It had you could place rides, you could place stalls that had guests. I went pretty freaking far with it. And it just has been sitting like that ever since. Kind of makes me sad sometimes thinking about that. Oops. Of course I didn't leave myself enough room for the entrance. Alright, let's test it. Nice. Yeah, well, I mean, I really wish that I had some older computer equipment or like a Mister or something that could emulate older computer equipment so I could test this thing with different monitor timings and older computers. So once I get my hands on some stuff like that, I will make a follow-up video to this. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing a multi-sync monitor. This was the first one I ever got to see in person. I've seen multi-format CRTs before where they can display you know, like BVMs that can display 240p all the way up to 1080i, but those don't display computer inputs like horizontal vertical sync, VGA. It won't do that. You'd have to convert the sync, and I don't even know like what it would look like when it was displayed. I have no idea if that would look weird or not. I've never tried it, but yeah, I think this thing's super cool, and my next objective or goal with it is to actually get it paired up with a computer from the same era, or at least close to it. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.